You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Harvey Dent's prolific dialogue from The Dark Knight did not just become a staple quote overnight, but it actually alluded to a harsher truth, that heroes are prone to making mistakes. Superhero movies of the day have a tendency for making characters navigate between benevolence and malevolence. They've shown us time and again that even the most bona fide hero can end up creating an enemy. Let's take a look at a few of the antagonists who were, in one way or another, created by our heroes. And believe it or not, they were not all snarked into villainy by Tony Stark. Speaking of Tony Stark, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't start with him right off the bat. His sheer capacity for making enemies is unparalleled, even though many times it's not really his fault. Take Mysterio or Vulture for example. Mysterio was a Stark Industries specialist before he went rogue. He was a fraught genius who couldn't bear having his holographic technologies used for therapeutic purposes. The fact that Tony also decided to call them BARF didn't help.
God, I gotta work on that acronym.
But becoming a manipulative reprobate was a disproportionate response on Mysterio's part, no doubt. Vulture, on the other hand, ended up on the dark side after losing his livelihood to Stark's post-battle cleanup venture with the federal government. Iron Man's most iconic adversary, though, was Ultron, the diabolic AI whose prime form was able to overpower Captain America and Thor. Ultron caused incredible damage, and his creation was entirely avoidable. Tony colluded with Bruce Banner to secretly create Ultron using Loki's scepter, an ornament that he knew little about to begin with. The AI then became sentient, fashioned a body for himself out of Iron Legion scraps, and promptly set out to destroy all of humankind. Heroes like Black Panther have extraordinary dynastic legacies, but being your father's son sometimes means inheriting your father's enemies. The next villain is Erik Killmonger, T'Challa's biggest nemesis and cousin. Erik's story began in America, where his father Njobu's death led him to two very important revelations: that he actually belongs to a clan of people known as the Wakandans, and that it was their king and his uncle T'Chaka who had killed his father. Njobu's death filled Erik with a permanent hatred for his kin. Then he went on an epic killing spree across the world that meant he was literally nicknamed the Killmonger. His real target, of course, was his cousin. An eye for an eye makes the world blind, unless you apply it to your cousin. Then you become the king of Wakanda. Killmonger may not have been a favorite among the Wakandans, but his conviction and combat skills made sure that he was well loved by audiences. The good guy always wins, but Killmonger's story testifies to the fact that the bad guy can also put on a gold necklace and get his way from time to time, especially if he is as well-intentioned as Erik Killmonger. Next up, we have Megamind, the titular anti-hero of Megamind. Megamind was busy getting ejected from his dying home planet when he first met his arch-rival, the goody-two-shoes Metro Man. The duo competed even as they hurtled towards their to-be homes. Metro Man landed in a world of riches, and Megamind crashed straight into prison. The creators probably tried to apply the rich jock versus poor geek stereotype here, so Metro Man ended up with awesome flying abilities, and Megamind, well, he was still a geek. So to sum it up, growing up as an alien and having gifted criminals for friends does a number on a guy, but it takes a flying superhero to really push him into a life of crime. The Megamind Metro Man rivalry ended rather quickly with Megamind killing Metro Man. This is where it gets interesting. Megamind realized that in the absence of a hero, villainy wasn't all it was hyped up to be. This drove him into creating a new hero. In a classic meta-villainic turn of events, the new hero became an even stronger baddie than Megamind himself. The next villain I'm about to introduce was created not so much due to the hero's arrogance, but his unyielding morals. It is none other than David Kane, aka Black Manta, who is often a thorn in Aquaman's side in the DC multiverse. In the recently released Aquaman movie, the iconic supervillain has an origin story that is quite reflective of the conflicted relationship between the Atlanteans and humans. David's father, Jesse Kane, a pirate, was celebrating a heist when Aquaman arrived on their submarine.
I should have come aboard.
The resulting skirmish between the two led to Jesse getting trapped under a torpedo as the submarine started flooding over. Aquaman could have saved him but refused to, saying that Jesse had brought his death upon himself. David had to leave him to die and ended up nurturing a vicious hatred for Aquaman, resulting him in becoming the Black Manta, one of Aquaman's most profound enemies. Next on the list is Spider-Man's iconic adversary, Venom. The stray symbiote was first seen in the 2007 Spider-Man 3 movie. It initially bonded with Spider-Man, giving him the sleek black suit and sprucing up his Spidey abilities. Despite enjoying his cranked-up suit's qualities, Peter realized that he had become host to an ominous presence and tried to get rid of it. After Peter successfully peeled it off, the symbiote bonded with his enemy, Eddie Brock. The symbiote's malice combined with Eddie's hatred for Peter created a vindictive antagonist hell-bent on destroying Spider-Man. After his silver screen debut in Spider-Man 3, Venom has set out on his own trajectory, starting with the 2018 Venom movie, which had Tom Hardy in the lead as Eddie Brock. By now, we've seen enough bad guys with murky backgrounds to understand that the genesis of your typical layered villain is preceded by a convoluted story. The intertwined comic book and cinematic multiverses add to the complexity of these storylines, and fans often turn up at theaters with prior knowledge of character arcs and preset expectations. Something similar is true of these quote-unquote villains, except they turned out not to be the bad guys at all. We're looking at the Skrulls, who made their MCU debut with Captain Marvel. Now, if you trace the comic book origins of this alien race, you'll find that the Skrulls are a competitive species of warriors who assimilated other planets in pursuit of expanding their clan. Being shapeshifters with reptilian and mammalian features, these adaptive humanoids make formidable opponents. They have also been in a long-standing conflict with the Kree. The comic book universe has, at times, painted a rather bleak picture of the Skrulls as superhero impersonators and untrustworthy extremists. The MCU, however, presents a more compassionate perspective, portraying the Skrulls as a misinterpreted and oppressed people in search of refuge. This plays out beautifully in the movies as Captain Marvel initially clashes with them, only to later become their ally. Captain Marvel's own Kree lineage pits her against the Skrulls, but she flips the create your villain trope on its head in the movie's final act by helping them find a new home. Next up is Captain Cold, the Flash's famous foe. Leonard Snart, aka Captain Gold, is an Arrowverse staple and a world-class thief. But it would do well to remember that Snart's villainy culminated into the creation of Captain Cold, mainly due to the Flash. In the Arrowverse, Barry Allen's Flash foiled one of Snart's heists, and a long-standing rivalry was born. Snart became the Flash's biggest enemy and even went as far as obtaining a cold gun to impede the speedster. The Captain Cold Flash duo is representative of a far more straightforward enmity than the ones we've seen so far. Captain Cold has his own share of childhood traumas, but all they fomented was a thief. It was only when Barry came along that he became the supervillain he's famously known as. In the direct-to-DVD animated feature Batman Under the Red Hood, Jason Todd, the second Robin, was met with a tragic end. This led to the birth of the Red Hood, the next villain on this list. Jason's Robin was horrifically beaten to death by the Joker, and Batman was too late in coming to his rescue. Jason was later resurrected by Ra's al Ghul. He returned to Gotham City a few years later under the title The Red Hood. The resurrected Jason Todd didn't hold a personal grudge against Batman, but was put at odds with the Dark Knight due to his vigilantism and their disparate moral codes. As the Red Hood, he began to take control of crime in Gotham City by killing murderers or drug dealers who were selling to children. He also grew wary of Batman's scruples, making him a titular antagonist in the movie. Some villains are born out of troubled pasts, deep-seated issues, or due to a hero causing permanent damage to some aspect of their lives. However, let's not forget that some bad guys are, well, just plain bad. I'm talking about Yellow Jacket, the baddie who gave Ant-Man quite a run for his money. Yellow Jacket started out as Hank Pym's protege Darren Cross in Ant-Man. He turned against Pym in what can be described as textbook villainy by dethroning Pym from his company, rebranding it, and replicating Pym's shrinking technology to create his own version of a technologically advanced size-altering suit. Darren's catalysts into Yellow Jacket was mainly due to his greed for the elusive Pym particles. Despite Hank trying his best to keep them under wraps, Yellow Jacket's obsession with the Pym particles prevailed. I guess no secret is small enough to keep hidden from a really determined bad guy, especially if it has to do with a bunch of really small, extra-dimensional subatomic particles. Victor Von Doom started off on the non-evil side of things, working on a project with the Fantastic Four which teleported them to Planet Zero. When the experiment went terribly wrong, Doom was trapped on the planet and presumed dead. Not only did he not die, but the strange energies he absorbed there fused his suit with his body and gave him telekinetic powers. This altered Von Doom, and he returned as the evil Dr. Doom, poised for world domination. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you like this list. Which villain do you think had it the worst? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch you next time.